Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Charlotte, and in today's video I'll be doing my August reading wrap up. It is so crazy that we are more than halfway through 2025, and so far I have been able to post a reading wrap up for each month, although some of them have been pretty late. You know which one I'm hinting at. This one wasn't too late because I was out of town for the last weekend of August, so I wasn't able to post anything that weekend, which you probably noticed. I went to visit my best friend in the state that I previously lived in for her birthday, which was super cool, and I got to fly alone on an airplane. But now I am back, getting back into the swing of life, reading, school, and of course making videos, which I love. And I actually realized that I missed it a little bit that weekend because my own premieres are actually really fun, where I get to premiere my video and talk to you guys. So now I am fully back and I'm ready to share the books that I read in August. August was really busy because it was the first month of school, first month of weekly football games since I am a cheerleader, and then my trip that was Saturday through Tuesday. So I only read 4 books this month, but they were all really good and I'm so excited to talk about them. And if you didn't notice, I did do my back to school hair chop where I chop off like this much of my hair, so this is what it looks like and I'm actually really enjoying it, especially for having to do high ponytails. Okay, so the first book that I read in the month of August was The Vanderbeekers Make a Wish. I actually binge read 2 Vanderbeekers books, this one and then the next one that I'll talk about in a minute. And I just got back into the world of the Vanderbeekers, and this is what's really cool about the series is I actually find myself loving it more and more as I get older, which is crazy because it's a kid's series. But the older that I get, the more great morals that I see, the great family dynamics, the lessons, and it just makes my heart so happy to know that things like this are still being promoted, that good is being promoted in books for kids, and I could not recommend this series to you enough. As a teen, it just feels like a warm, nostalgic hug reading this book. No, I did not grow up in New York City in a brownstone with a giant family, but something about this just feels so relatable and comforting and nostalgic and reminds me of my childhood at times. And another thing I love about this series is that you grow with the characters, so no matter what your age, there's probably a character your age. I'm an older teen, and there were some older teen characters in the family, which I thought was really cool. And I liked how they were still part of the story, and you kind of got to see the dynamics of growing up. This was a 5-star for me. I thought it was such a simple but sweet story. I thought they put the grandparents in a really good light in the end and showed how much they went through coming from China to America. It was so cool just to hear about their story, and it was just such a heartwarming book. I just love this family in the series so much, and like I said, I cannot recommend it more. This was a 5-star. Okay, like I said, more Vanderbeekers books on the way, and when I was grabbing this one from behind me, I was noticing the series is out of order, but I don't want to fix it while I'm filming, so please ignore that. This book was a 6-star. This book was amazing. I never would have thought I would have enjoyed following their road trip this much. When I heard it was a road trip and we wouldn't be following just the normal life in Harlem, I was a little disappointed, but this is probably my favorite Vanderbeekers book yet. I adored this book so much. I don't know what happened, but I just read almost all of this in one sitting, and I was just so immersed in the story, and I felt like I was there. I was literally having thoughts in my head after I read this about my road trip when this was literally just a book. The mental pictures these books paint without adding too much details or confusing words is just absolutely amazing. They're just so well written, and I just love all the character development, the diversity between the characters. Everything is just so good about the series. Basically, you are following the Vanderbeeker kids as they drive in this old van across the United States and meet new friends, visit family along the way, and all for this like ultimate goal, but I can't tell you what that is. I thought this was a really good addition to the series, and I liked seeing the Vanderbeekers travel somewhere. All the little things mentioned, like a pit stop at Target or the van breaking down, just also relatable from someone who has gone on a good amount of road trips. And this book will always hold a special place in my heart, and I feel like this is one of those books that I'm going to be rereading every year because it's just that good. Or if I need a comforting read, this is probably my #1 comfort read. So if you have started the Vanderbeekers series and you don't know if you want to continue it, or if you've never even heard of the Vanderbeekers series, please go read them. This was just, it was amazing. Okay, and we're going to be taking a very different turn now for the last 2 books. The next book that I read was My Father's Daughter. This was a read for school. This book was one of those books I got done with and said, why did I need to read that for school? And then I started thinking about all the themes and I was like, there it is, I see it now. This was a 3.75 for me. I think I enjoyed it, but like I kind of mentioned in the book report I had to write for school, there was 2 different perspectives you got. You got like the perspective of Winston, our main character, and then you got like a perspective of a conversation happening in the future. And I did feel like the dialogue of the conversation in the future was really engaging, very poetic. There were some big moments where I just wanted to underline because it was just so well written. And then when you went into the main POV or perspective, which was Winston, I did feel like it was really dry and boring and very pessimistic, which I do understand was on purpose, but it did lose my interest a lot easier than the other part of the book. But it was a short read. I like the themes that they explored, what it's like growing up super rich, what it's like having people assume you have all of these mental and physical problems, but really you've just been neglected growing up. I thought that was a really cool subplot to this book, and I really liked how they explored that realm and how they solved everything. Like I said, I enjoyed this. It just probably isn't a new favorite book of mine. Okay, lastly, we have Everchange. This book looks very interesting with the ring light on it. You can like see the reflection of my ring light. Wait, that's so weird. This is how big it is. Yes, I have a few tabs. This was a book sent to me to read and review, and I thought this was immediately going to be one of my new favorite books ever. And in my mind, it still kind of is, but toward the end, it took a really violent turn. For somebody like me that is a little sensitive to reading about torture in books, I did have a hard time reading this, and I don't want to recommend it to a younger crowd. But if you're like a big fantasy dystopian reader and that doesn't bother you, then I can still recommend this. And other than that, it was clean, and I really enjoyed the teenagers that we followed in this book. They were very innocent and wholesome, but like in the best way possible, where it was still really interesting to read about. And I did like all the romance going on in this book. It was definitely a side plot, but I felt like it was very engaging and added a lot to the story, and you had your team that you were rooting for. I will say though that the 2 like torture scenes at the end felt very out of place to the rest of the book. This is over 500 pages, and those scenes were in the last 100 pages, and up to that point there hadn't been anything like that kind of violence, so I do have to put that out there. Other than that, there was literally nothing bad in this book. Like, I loved this book. It definitely gave Keeper of the Lost City's friend group vibes in the best way possible. Like, I loved reading about that, and when I was reading KOTLC, why is that so hard to say and so long, I kept thinking I wanted to just spend more time with the characters doing fun friend things, and they definitely did that in this book. This was more of like a dystopian, a very futuristic book, but they lived in more of like a rural town because everything had been destroyed by nature. So like I've mentioned with some of these other books, I could talk about this for the longest time, and I am kind of disappointed that I wasn't able to rate this like a 5 or 6 star. I think I rated it a 4.5 just because of those scenes at the end, but I really don't know if that's just me being sensitive or if that is a lot to read about for the average reader. So you can check out my review on that. Like I say in all of my review videos, I post in-depth content warning reviews on both Goodreads and Fable, where I break down all the content in a book that could bother a person coming from the perspective of a Christian teen. So make sure to go check that out if you want more information on any of the subject matters or things talked about, or violence, or language in any of these books. So yeah, that is my last book I read this month. So did I read a lot of books? No. Did I read really good books? 100% yes. I am actually really happy with the books that I read this month, because this one was like twice as big as all the other ones, so I kind of read 5 books, and I am almost done with my audiobook, Beyond the Bright Sea, which is amazing. I'm so excited to talk about that one. But yeah, that's all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing me talk about these books. Maybe you found some new recommendations, or if you've already read these, please comment down below, because as a book girly, I just love discussing books with people, and it's just so much fun. So thank you again for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more content. I have a really exciting collab coming soon, as well as a highly requested bookshelf tour, so stay tuned for both of those fun extra long videos. And yeah, I'll see you guys there. Bye!